So watch what happens here if I hit the F4 key. Take a look at that. So I go from my short and concise prompt with just the current folder name to showing the entire path. Why did I set this up? Well, I like this shortness here, but the problem is I find myself wondering a lot which directory named VLLM am I inside of, especially if I've cloned a repo from somebody else. So for example, if I do a PWD here, I can see I'm sitting inside of my fork of this particular repository, but I might be in a different tab here. I might be sitting inside of a different copy of this. So if I PWD here, you can see, well, in this case, it's not my fork. This is the actual upstream. And so there's a big difference between the two. And of course, for the most part, I can figure that out. I know when I'm working, which one I'm inside of. A lot of times I open up separate windows or do something to differentiate the two of them. But what I've realized is be nice just to have a way to quickly check without needing to run that PWD command, look at the output, and then clear it to get back to where I was at. And I've put this together. So take a look at this here. So if I just hit the F4 key, look at that. I've got the full path. It shows up on top. It not only shows up on top, it actually showed up down below as well in this other folder that I'm inside of. You can see down below, I'm actually in my fork of this particular repo, whereas up above, I'm not. And if I just go through my various tabs, you can see every single one of these tabs has the entire path visible. And if any point in time, then I'm done looking at the path, just hit F4 again, it goes away. All of the tabs go back to just having the current folder name. So I set up a binding inside of the fish shell that sets a variable essentially that then is used by my fish_prompt method to pick out the path to show, which normally just shows a directory. And instead I set it up as a toggle so it could show the full directory if I hit F4. Show you what this looks like if you're curious here. All right, so over on the left here, this is where I set up the toggle that will just basically toggle this variable right here. And that's just bound to the F4 key inside of the fish shell. That's all that does, just toggle it back and forth, that's all. It sets it to yes right here, or it erases it right here. And a key part here, I'm using a universal variable inside of the fish shell, which means every single instance of fish shell that's running, it will have access to this new value for the variable. And then the key is I need something to react to the variable changing. I've got that right up above here. Can't see it, but that wraps off screen there. I've got a function that's defined with on-variable, which that basically means this function will be run here every single time that variable value changes. It's a pretty cool feature of the fish shell. As a result of that, then I can call command line -- function repaint, basically just redraw the prompt. And that's why it's able to then show the entire prompt, because I trigger my prompt to run again. And that prompt code is over on the right here. This is the prompt method that I override prompt_pwd for the current directory. And then I've got a bunch of logic in here to do a lot of things. But the key part here is if that variable is set, then in that case, I just immediately show the entire path and then I bail out of this function. Otherwise, if that's not set, I go about my regular logic here. So yeah, that's all it takes inside the fish shell to set something up. So if you want to keep your prompt really tight, you could just have a toggle set up. And not only could you show the current directory, anything you put in your prompt, you could expand anything. I could, for example, in addition to showing the machine name here, I could right in front of that, I could put the username if I wanted to see that as well. I could put whatever I want in here. So you could use this then to have a verbose prompt that you hide away most of the time and you bring it out when you need it. So if you're one of those people that has a ridiculous prompt because you think you need to know everything about the directory you're sitting inside of and the time of day and every other aspect of your machine, the battery life left, all that nonsense, maybe set all that up, but set it up so it's behind a toggle so you're not wasting your terminal space, which is precious, I think. You should dedicate most of the space to the commands that you're typing so things don't run off screen.